Hello. Says I'm live. I don't know if you can hear me. It says a couple people are here. I have no idea. I'm hoping you can hear me. So if you are one of the people watching, let me know if you can hear me. I'm going to type, can you hear me? I feel like I see signal. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm hoping so. Yes, sir. Hey, Jeff, right on. I was hoping you were going to tune in. I'm not using Soldanos tonight. You can see I have my 97 Hot Rod 50 Plus sitting right there. Right on. Yeah, brother. I'm going to turn it up maybe just a touch. I don't know. When I get close to this thing, I feel like it gets a little louder. I'll try to speak clearly. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Not endorsed, but hey, if Coca-Cola would like to send me something, I would enjoy that. I like keeping a beverage around because I talk a lot. And I like doing this because I get to just sit here and talk and I get to hear what you guys have to say. Hey, look, I'm gone. I've been doing a lot of lessons on the streams. I'd love to chat for a second before, just to kind of get a couple people in here. I see there were two people here a second ago. Now there's two people here. So, oh, hey, Paul's here as well. All right, great. Hopefully you can hear me as well. Tonight I'm using a single cut PRS S2 McCarty style. I'm going into my orange amp. It's stereo. Nothing's really mic'd up. I did a couple of tests last night with my Focusrite preamps, trying to get the audio going straight in. And to me, it just didn't sound right. And I'm sure it's the live stream, and I'm sure it's just me being picky. But I figured if I just used one source and tried to get it all, maybe it would work a little bit better. Hope you guys are good. I have been busy as heck. I got two bands kind of rolling right now. Well, one that I'm filling in with from time to time, and they've been calling me a bunch. And then I have that's Jimmy's Chicken Shack. Obviously, that's what Jeff was always asking about the gear. Jeff MCO ran a page about our gear back in the day, and I'll hit a couple of those sounds real quick if you want, because that doesn't take long to just pull up my bank. Who knows how loud it'll be, but it'll be hopefully something you can hear. I know everybody loves the Face It sound. Why don't I start tonight with that sound, huh? Having a switcher system really makes a big difference for me running between a couple of bands. I can have a lot of different settings going. Oh, I have to go to that particular. The Chicken Shack, you got to go to that. You got to go to this pickup here. Your neck. It's a totally different sound when you're on that pickup. Man, I got to set the gate a little tighter for that stuff. Anyway, what I do for that song is I have a tremolo going right on. Yes, exactly. Trem and whammy. And it's set on full whammy down an octave. And it was one of the very first times. There's a great little story behind that song. One of the very first times that I really used that in that setting. I walked into Jimmy's house where we used to practice. Hey, what's up? What's up, Jacob and Kevin? How you guys doing? Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, that song, I walked into the house and I heard Jimmy doing this little riff upstairs, and I recognized that flatted fifth in there. What am I gonna do here? against the E, that B flat, to my ear, I was hearing it as a flatted fifth. So I went downstairs and started doing that thing and turned my whammy and my tremolo on, and I just kind of got lost in that bubba sound. And Jimmy came downstairs and was like, what are you doing? Because it works with what I was just doing. And next thing you know, the song Face It was written literally like in about 10 or 15 minutes. We had that song down. And it was like right around the same time that we had written the Lazy Boy Dash, which is one that Ryan Dugary always asks me about. And that's a fun little song too. But this Face It, so I got really interested in how that song breaks down and what the notes are, because to me there's this Lydian thing. I always talk about Lydian. I always end up referencing Lydian. There's E. If you go E major and then raise the fourth, instead of just E, F sharp, G sharp, and A, if you go to A sharp, you know, you're kind of in B, but if you play it against an E, it gives the ear. And that's a kind of a chicken shacky tone right there anyways, especially with. So, you know, you might recognize, you recognize that one probably as the Bong Jam. So that, and then, so there's that Lydian thing, which is very major, but then it also, he was throwing in his riff, he was throwing in this, that minor seven. So we were writing in a jazz mode at that point. It's called, I looked it up years later, and I always hear jazzers talk about it. It's Lydian dominant, and it's I guess the fourth degree of the harmonic minor mode. I think. So the whole spelling of it is would be E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, then D natural. And it's a weird little scale, you know, from E. If you're using that whole phone number sequence, it changes the phone number. You're calling somebody else at that point. But it's a great little spot. And that sharp four, as I came to later realize is what it was. It wasn't a flatted fifth, it was a sharp four in the context of that song. That's that Lydian sound, and then that lowered seventh, that's the dominant sound. So that's a cool chord that a cool scale that jazzers use when they're doing all their jazzy stuff. And I've heard people use it in that context. I can't do it. But it is something, this loop, I wanted to kind of go back and revisit something that I have actually made myself a while ago, and maybe I'll do that in a little bit. But it kind of touches on that whole Lydian theme, this whole raised fourth. And it actually, another funny thing is that one of the Pauls here and one of the other guys, when we were doing my first live stream, they called out a couple of chords, D and B. And at the time we were doing D minor and B minor, but this progression is actually really kind of a 1-bar vamp that I recorded a 4-bar loop over, so it had a little more feel than just a straight thing. And it's going from D to B. Oh my gosh, Chris Diorsio, what's up, man? The Blind Mice, no way. I found the lyrics to Death by Plastic Cutlery the other night. I can't believe it. I got to send you that on Facebook. The first song I ever wrote is with this guy, Chris, that's here. What's going on, buddy? He and I wrote a song together called Death by Plastic Cutlery. And man, it's the greatest. I wish I could play it right now. Okay, so anyway, this whole concept of using Lydian and all that. Hi, Dave. Good to see you, buddy. The whole concept of using Lydian and raising that fourth in different contexts is kind of what I'm doing in this one loop that I created here. And it's where I kind of find a reference point a lot of times when I want to sound scalar without sounding scalar. When I want to kind of find a point that I really like where I am, I try to use Lydian as a reference point. And And it just comes from having that idea of raising that fourth, and it becomes real easy for me to locate a spot. So this progression that I kind of have, this is something that I have on my loop video playlist, and it's called Dreams Fade, if you want to actually hear the original version of it. But here I've been kind of adding stuff, and I've been messing with my circuit, bringing stuff in, and they're all synced together at the moment. Hopefully at the right tempo. It sounds like it. So that's D to B real quick. And I kind of throw that little thing in, and I throw a healthy dose of reverb and delay on it, because to me, Lydian has a dreamy feel, and that reverby, delay, washy sound kind of helps to bring that out. Let me just make sure you guys can see the neck. Everybody can see what I'm doing, not just looking at my pedals and stuff. So anyway, keep cutting off my face. So anyway, hey, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. It's great guitar. I can't help but sound great going through good gear and good guitars. I appreciate it. This whole concept of just doing a quick 2 chords within one measure kind of makes me not think chordally at that point. I kind of think within a scale. If it was 2 bars of D, and within that, I'm not just doing a D major, I'm doing that whole Police, throwing that 9 in. Some people call it a second. Hey there, Daryl. How you doing, man? Oh, is that Logan? It's I'm guessing. I'm thinking so. So D, kind of a 9 thing to B, and staccato-y kind of a thing. Lays down a nice little bed for me to pick a mode and pick my favorite spots of that mode, and then tinker and experiment. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put it on and I'll play it over and over again until I start to find the melodies that I like and where it is, and then go, okay, what I'm hearing is this, what I'm hearing is that. So to me, this whole progression of D, what is it, D major to a B minor, is what I, when I reference it as Lydian, I'm going to a key and then raising that key a certain amount. So Lydian is the 4th degree of your major scale. So if I think of A major, and that would be my 1 here on the E string, 5 7 9, that shape that we're all familiar with, 1 4 7 3 6 2 5, and there's your A again. If I play within that A major scale over this, it sounds better than playing pure D major. See, that's not right to me already. That G should be a G sharp, so I'm raising that 4th. So here I am in A with that G sharp right there. So A, the key of A is A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, and G sharp. So that's 3 sharps and flats. I don't want to think about all that stuff when I'm playing. Hey, what's up, Iron? Good to see you, man. Hey, what's up, Paul? So yeah. So you're saying very cool in that's how I think of this progression. I think of a D major as the 4 and the B minor. You know, it's going to be a B minor to me, to my ear, because it has that D in there. So that creates this move to me that goes from a major chord down a minor third and creating a minor chord, and it's in A. You know, it kind of brings you back home a little bit. I should probably tune up a little just before I make a fool of myself. So how to make that interesting without just sitting there and being scalar and thinking to yourself the phone number and counting 1 4 7 3 6 2 5. Okay, hold on, 4 7 3 6 2 5 1. Okay, hold on. Now I want to do a blues thing. Hold on, now I'm here. Oh man, the song has gone by so quickly. You know that you. To me, I try to pick a couple of positions and work out my favorite spots. So a couple of the things that I like doing when I want to bring out this Lydian mode that I'm talking about, which to me the 3 note per string scale would be, I'm thinking Lydian, so I'm thinking starting on the 4th degree of this A. So the pattern that I'm starting with within the phone number that I talk about on the live streams before, we're doing 4. We're starting with 4. So 4 7 3 6 2 5 is how that's going to kind of break down. The 4 looks major. So that's 5 7 9 on the A string, and then we're going to go 6 7 9 because we're going 4, and then the 7 gives us that shift up just like the B string does, but we're going to do it in our position. We're going to stay in position. 7, there's our root again. 1, so I'm sorry, 4 7 1 2 3. See how this is falling? So 4 7 1 4 7 3. See, I have to sit there and count it out. 7 3 6 2. So those are those shapes. We hit the B string and we have to go up again, just like we did with the 7. And that gives you that. It gives you that G sharp. That's that raised 4th that I like to hear and that's the Lydian note. It gives me a nice happy major place to sit, but you don't have to sit on it, and it's a lot easier on your ears than the regular 4th, which, as we brought up before, the natural 4th is dissonant to your ears, whereas that G sharp is going to sound a little more pleasing. Here's the D major scale. 1. And here's the Lydian. So to me, that gets, when you play it in context, especially with something like this, with a nice wash, you can get that dreamy vibe. And that's that point in the movie, that when the songs go Lydian, everybody's crying, and it's great. It's nice, or it's a dreamy sequence, and you're moved. It's a great place to sit if you want to kind of do a regular major feeling jam, but you don't want to play major. You don't want to play Ionian, because Ionian is so pirate. It's so like, it's a, like we're all of our ears are tired of that. And all of our ears are kind of getting tired of the pentatonic thing, although there's a lot of players right now, obviously, doing incredible things with the blues. But how I like to then take this concept of then breaking out of this, that whole, it's cool if you like, right, exactly, yes, you could pillage, yes, we could play that and take over the towns. So if you want to have a dream about taking over the towns, this is where we go. And sometimes a little better, a little safer to just dream about it. So we could dream about taking over the towns and the women all coming with us and everybody actually being happy. How about that? So a fun way to do this with the pentatonics now, and what I think of now at this point, is another tool within this place to go. This is the story that's kind of been told. These are the pages, this loop that I've created, everything that's in the circuit here, kind of, they start to lay out this story for me. And then I pick these places within the story I want to go. There might be times where I want to get a burst of, like, something along those lines, or I might want to do something bluesy. But if I try to do D minor blues, it's not going to sound right. So how am I going to kind of find some of these familiar pentatonic shapes that I like and take a cool jam into my ears and give myself other places to go other than just sitting here counting out a phone number or sitting here trying to play major pentatonic shapes and then go, I don't like these major pentatonic shapes. I keep hitting this root and it just doesn't sound right. So what my trick is for this, and I've seen a bunch of people over the years talk about it, and I guess what we would call it would be a superimposition. You're taking a pentatonic scale, and instead of playing it at the normal root, you're going to play it at a different starting point. Just like we do with the modes, we can start within the pentatonics at a different spot. So we know, to me, that this shape, obviously B minor, this 7-10, 7-9, and then 7-10 is going to, if I end there, it's going to give us D major. See, there's our D major triad. And then there's our major 7. And then the octave again. So we know we have access to all that right there, all within this pentatonic scale, and then we add this first extension. So by playing some bluesy stuff here over the jam in B minor, why don't I bring some more in? So that's B minor or D major. So that's that shape. Now, if that's rote, that's this place where we kind of, everybody's ears know, you can kind of start there and get a listener familiar. But then what's cool, what I like to do with this kind of a thing is then take that same shape, and instead of starting on the D, I'll move to the 5th of that chord. Hey, Ryan, I hope loadout went well. Thanks for tuning in, man. Hope you got a guitar on. So the 5th of D is going to be A. So, right here, it's this 12th fret from right here, from where I am, where I'm kind of gotten comfortable. From right here, it's that 7th fret on the D string. And then here on your low E, you have it here at the 5th. So if we make our major pentatonic shapes start on this 5th of our major chord, hey Parky, my daughter's here, how sweet. If we start major shapes, all of our pentatonic major shapes, that's 5 notes, triads are 3, pentatonics 5, these 3-note per strings are giving us 7-note scales. This pentatonic shape, thanks, honey. This pentatonic shape starting on the 5th. All of this stuff applies to ukulele, Parker. Just want you to know it applies to ukulele. We'll watch later. That's my daughter. I want her to play as much as she can, and she's great. She's got a song on one of my things, Pitter Patter. You guys, everybody watch it later. It's a great song. Okay, so thanks for being here, honey. You go to bed soon. So pentatonic superimposition. This major shape. And then that means this major shape. And all of the next ones, there's 3 more. All of these spots where we have those shapes that are major, we can move to start on the 5th, which in our case of D is going to be the A. So if we take this shape and move it to right here. See, I am not playing the D in this shape. This frees me up to sound like I'm going on this journey a little bit further than just D and B and playing the tonics over and over. So all of a sudden, it gives me a space to go. It gives me a place to go that can be creative. So before I even started again, why don't I, within this shape, show you where the D falls? The D is here on the 5th fret of the A, and the D is here on the 3rd fret of the B. And then so any place where I start a major pentatonic shape in A, that pirate one, if I play that pirate scale over this progression that's actually not featuring an A chord, so we're not in pirate land anymore. You know, we're not taking the rum and pillaging anybody. We're dreaming. You know, we're in dreamy land. We're in the 4. And then we're at this minor B, which can be a minor 7th B. That we're in that world, and we want to kind of hint at stuff, and we don't want to bring out this D all the time. This is a great place to go where you can now have access to all your other major notes other than the root and other than your 4th. Okay, so that's why I love doing this and trying to get the Lydian sound, because here's my root right here now for this Lydian chord. Okay, so right there's my root. So that means that this shape, this pentatonic major shape that we know as the major shape, is not in this F sharp thing, A major, F sharp minor, A major. So we're adding this note, which is our tonic, to this Lydian progression. And then to really bring out the Lydian, the featured note of a Lydian major scale is this raised 4th, this G sharp, not this G, not the dissonant G. We want to kind of feature the sweet sonorous sounds of the raised 4th or the G sharp. It's leading to that 5 in a nice way against the D, which is the 1, you know, and in A, that's the major 7th. So we're playing an A major scale over this progression that doesn't have an A major chord. So let me kind of move around between a couple of these shapes, and just kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about here while I bring this on. D, B, D, B. Let me get a little sweetness going. Oh, there goes a kitty. So here's some D major. I'll play no 4ths. Now I'll throw in a little major 7ths and some 4ths. That raised 4th. A little blues in the B minor. Let's do it here. That's how you really can bring out a particular note. That G sharp really sounds nice. You know, if you play like a D bar chord. So here's a D bar chord. Let's strip it down a little bit. I'm playing D twice. And like I said, I'm trying to not play the root as much because the bass will be playing the root. The keyboard is probably playing the root somewhere in there. Why not just avoid it as much as you can? And that's where this pentatonic imposition comes in. But like a nice chord replacement for something like that, would be to take that D and move it down a half step to that C sharp. We know the C sharp is safe. It's in, here's a A major scale, pentatonic wise. Probably a bunch of you know that position as the F sharp minor. What I would call position 4 of a minor shape. Well, it's, you know, whatever position you want to then reference. There's an A major arpeggio. So you can run an A major arpeggio and end with a D, you know, right there, and get that, bring out that D for a second. The cool thing about Lydian is then, you know, a whole step up, you have another major chord. So there's an E major in here, and that's defined because that G sharp, the E against G sharp is major. So in A major, you have A major, D major, and E major are 1, 4, and 5. And from those shapes, we know those are the way it is. Ending on the D, that's the first notes, and bound for, isn't that some Bon Jovi stuff, right? I bound for, I don't know, maybe Bound for Glory. When I see Glory, all I think of is Jeff Beck and Richie Sambora playing. Okay, Tedeschi, yeah, sure. I know. And on the double D, there you go. Yes, bring it out. So yes, so you've been avoiding the D the whole time. That's a great way to, now you're there, you know, great way. Boom. Yes, exactly. You've landed. It's a great way to sound a lot smarter than you are, because I'm not that smart sounding when I play like that. I'm just playing positions. If I tried to count all my numbers, if I tried to, God forbid, I start thinking to myself, A sharp, a G sharp, A major, this, E minor. I just don't think of that. You know what I mean? It's just not that kind of a thing. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. So that means that a bunch of, if you know these double stops in A, then see, if you know those will work over this. And then same thing, almost all those pentatonics, shifting pentatonics around and moving just one little note within that pentatonic thing can just change things around so much. You know, no, you're right. The whole idea of kind of being, especially within one particular chord. So, and those solos, when he's playing a lot of that solo, you know, he shifts over to pentatonic minor shapes, even if there's, you know, major stuff on the chords that they're playing. And that's how Eddie would think. You know, I'm sure Steve Vai, I love Steve Vai, I love all those guys that really sound like they're thinking. And Steve and Satch, those guys probably are thinking while they're playing. But when I was playing with Jimmy, and I would play with a lot of the different cover bands that I was in, I would try to not think as much as possible. And a lot of improvising and stuff like that, you want to kind of have at least a certain amount of muscle memory, but then also be able to mix in some of your, you know, theoretical knowledge. And that's where some of this stuff can come in handy, so that you can at least know, okay, what I'm doing here is I've shifted my pentatonic position playing to kind of suit what mood I'm going for. I know that the E, if I'm playing a D major and an E major and then A, that E Mixolydian is where it is, because it has that D in there. That's my 5 again. See how it's just another starting point within all of this, and so they'll work, but it's not going to sound quite the same if you're kind of ending on the notes that those patterns are bringing you. If I start playing in kind of an E major shape and trying to throw in Mixolydian notes from E major, over this jam, to me, it doesn't feel like I'm landing on the right notes. My position playing doesn't feel like I'm hitting the notes that my ears are trying to hear. And then so finding those pentatonic shapes within your phone number framework, and then finding why these chords, might demand D Lydian as opposed to D Mixolydian or D Ionian, which are each just one note variations of a major scale. The Lydian has a raised fourth, the Mixolydian has a flatted seventh. They're both major scales, they both have a major third. That kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, where there's that jam that we did that was Lydian dominant. And neither one of us knew what the heck Lydian dominant was. It took me years to figure out what the heck Lydian dominant was. I knew Lydian because of Steve Vai since 85, 86 or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Lydian is all about the tritone in there, but Lydian, instead of like Locrian's tritone, it is there's also still a fifth within that chord. Whereas if we were here on D, this is still an acceptable note. This A is still acceptable. And so is that. But like, let's say now, so that's then how I would then find Locrian here. This is my 4 of A major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. G sharp is going to give me that flatted fifth because there's the D. So that's a tritone. That's the real Diabolico musica. That's the real devil in music, because you have a minor third as opposed to a major third, which is what we're looking at here. So here in that same key, our true tritone that has a minor would be located within that G sharp to A major as our 1. Now we hear that as home so much, as opposed to, so that true tritone, and then that's where the Metallica thing is, that whole concept. They're actually escaping the key for a second, and then going to. They're not raising the fourth. They're really flatting the fifth, and so they're escaping to Locrian or harmonic minor, where there is going to be the following triads that are created within the harmonic scale are going to give you that effect there in a few places. The cool thing, here's a really cool thing. Okay, let's talk Mixolydian for a second. Here's some neat stuff that I like doing with the blues, because Jeff, Panzer Rock, you asked towards the end of the last lesson, we were talking about staying within key and how some examples of music that jump out of key. Okay, the blues, and I'm sure I know Chris has played a bunch of blues. Anybody that's really sat down and listened to the blues after learning this Western theory goes, man, I can't just sit there on one blues scale and sound right over the whole progression like I can with my modal playing. I just can't do it. And that's because it's changing keys on every chord. Within the blues structure, if you want to think of it in our way of thinking, you're taking the 5 of a scale. You're taking the 5 and building a triad off of it, which gives you a dominant 7th, and then you're using that as the 1. So, in other words, if we took the A major scale, and let's just do it here on one string, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 9, and then 10, 12, 14. Our 7th is at the 16th fret, and then our root again is there. If we add our thirds appropriately to each one of those roots, so we get an A major, a B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major. Okay, so that's our 5th scale degree. Let's build off of that 5th there for a second. Let's build a chord. That would be root. It's got that G sharp. So root, major 3rd, and a 5. And then because we're in the key of A, it's got this D in it, which we just heard here. So that's our dominant in our normal chord progressions, our A majors, our C majors, whatever they are. The 5th tone of the scale creates a dominant chord, and it happens once within the establishment of these triads. And then we have a minor, and then we have our diminished. There's the 7th of that, and then there's the root. So, and then we have, it's hard to get up there with this guitar. Anyway, so that's the A major. Here at the 5, we have an E. So let's just take that shape and make it the 1 of A now. So now we're playing an A dominant blues, and then the 4 goes to a dominant. It's not Lydian, but our ears recognize that move. So that dominant move of going here and then moving this note to the minor 3rd, you've just come out of A major already by going to the minor. So over the D, we have now, relative to this A, we have a minor 3rd showing up. And there's some cool ways to bring that out without playing the D as well. I'll show you that real quick. And then back to the 1. And then our E again, 7, 9, 7, 9, which, would be the same as where we were before. There's a dominant again. So we have 3 dominants. So that's changing the key every time. And if you're doing a jump blues where the quick change where the where on the 2 you go to the 4 real quick. So and then you go back to the 4, then back to the 1. Yeah, you can do so many fun things on the 5 there at that point because you got a dominant sounding thing already happening, and you're bringing out this dominant thing. So one of these fun things to do that I like when I get to that 5 is to do this tritone thing that we talk about here, because you can really, at the 5, your ear is already expecting that kind of dissonance, this kind of a tendency to want to get back to the 1. And my favorite trick is to take this major shape right here. So say we're in here now on the 5 of A in an A blues. When you're on the 5, you can kind of add some tension. You see that? That's 7, 6, and 9, and then go down a half step and play the same shape again. 8, 7, 10, and then there's the E again. And then you can end it with, there's the A. So you can, that brings you right home. So instead of going and continuing the shape, brings you right home. So at the end of the 5, yeah, they did a lot of that whole that building. That's where those diminished kind of things. A lot of times, instead of being the Yingwei, if you don't want that Yingwei minory, if you don't want that sound, you want to kind of bring out. You want to kind of bring out the sound you're going for, and that even brings you to the 5 of the 4. So if you're going from the 5, so the 7, this whole dominant 7 thing, and playing around with that tritone at that point, that's where you can really grab the listener's ear. That's a fun little thing to do. And there's a couple of fun things I like to do on the 4, because that's a really another one of those notes where you really, the bass player is probably bringing out the 4. When you get to that 4 in the change, your bass player's playing that. Somebody is playing that. You know, you don't have to play that. You can go here to this. You can bring out that shape here, this 4th fret and the 5th fret. And there's, you know, the 7th of a D. There's that C, and that's you slide it up, you're back to A. So there's that D. Slide both of them up, you're back to A. So that's a great little. Now, the final move here to stay in one spot, go up a half step. There's the 5. And then slide it down a whole step. That's your 4. And then, so. And that's a great way to comp with somebody and stay off of the root and not be kind of muddying up the bass player spots. And then you can kind of start to find the higher accents. And yeah, those old metal bands like Priest, I mean, Sabbath was a blues band. They started as a blues band until he played that tritone. And everything was different. Ozzy was like, "Oh, Tony, play that note again." You know, I mean, it is automatically, that just pulls your ear so much. Sharon, get Tony a notepad. He's got to write that note down. Yes, exactly. Yes. Sharon, I'll never remember this. This Ozzy moment sponsored by Coca-Cola. Randy Rhoads, one of the greatest guitar players ever. And so those are kind of like my approaches to this kind of a thing, where you have a kind of a simple vamp, you have something that's not too difficult. You know, as far as chord wise, we're just doing 2 chords, and it's a simple approach. I try not to think about both the chords while I'm playing. I try to think about my scalar positions are going to bring out the best of those chords and give me kind of fun spots to play, especially double stoppy kind of, you know. And find what notes bend right. You know, find where I can add, you know, here's that 4, 7, 1, you know, that gives me some positioning. 1, 4. I mean, that G sharp just sounds so much better. And so, oh yeah, there we are. The pirates are here. Everybody get your stuff. Just tuck yours in. Just take them. Yeah, my son loved. Oh, dude, I'm glad you're enjoying playing with yourself there, Paul. Thanks for bringing. Oh, with your looper, yes, I got you. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Your son got you a looper. That kills, man. That, you know, Byron, his wife got him a looper here. Yep, there you go. He's still here. Yep, he got, and it's. I mean, I have this RC300 allows me to do 3 different tracks. What I was doing was really just, I had kind of started with this bass right here, the That's a Squire 6. Looks like a guitar that's kind of long and weird, but it's tuned an octave down, and it has 6 strings, so I can easily get in there. It's wirelessly set to one of the other inputs of my switcher, so I can loop it and have a low end thing like here. I'll add it right now. Thanks, Joe. Anyway, let's see what you guys hear. That's a lot of gear. I don't even own an amp anymore. What are you doing all say? Yeah, thank you guys. It's set up. It's years and years and years and years of stuff. Inspirational. Thank you guys. Yeah, it's oh man, you want to see something great? The Commodore 64. Look at this. That's a little mini, right? That thing rules, right? This thing is great, and they just are releasing a large version of it again. I loved my Commodore. That's how I started with music back in, really when I first got my guitar, and I had a Commodore 64. Yeah, exactly. The Commodore. Oh dear. Let's reminisce. How old is Dave? So I was gosh, I guess 15, 14 when I first started playing guitar, and like within the year I had the Commodore as well. And you could sit there and play. You had one of those. Yep, those things rocked. You could play keyboards on the keyboard. They had all this stuff. And so I would sit there and just kind of mess around with stuff and tune my guitar to it and get something going. And that was the beginning of all of that, And this was when Chris Diorzio and I would come over and we would just jam together. And it was great to have somebody else to play chords behind you to be able to experiment with all that. And so that's what this has kind of become for me. The drum sequences and adding different layers of things here, like just something simple like this, just something simple to keep me going, And what I specifically did with the backing track was I tried not to play the Blind Mice. Yep, exactly. Dude, Everett, what's up, brother? Thank you for tuning in, man. If I see you're getting here a little late, make sure you watch back. But I'm hanging for a little bit. I've had coffee, soda, been jamming this stuff for a while. I'm really enjoying revisiting. This was a song that I did like 2 years ago for myself when I really started up the channel again, like just to really do it. My dad got me a GoPro and he sent me like a little input jack thing so that I could actually send some of the equipment that I have into it, and get a good signal going into it. So that was that particular song called Dreams Fade, and my looper stuff. That was just kind of like me really first messing around with this. Woke up from this weird dream, and I was just Lydian. I was in Lydian. I was in pirate mode. I was in Lydian mode, and it was like, wow. And so, right on, brother. Thank you. I'm glad. Hopefully, everybody's got a guitar. We're all hanging out with, and hopefully learning something. And Sully, if you're here, sorry I haven't hit the free bird yet. If you're watching in the morning, because I know you a little late for you. If you're watching, yeah, no free bird tonight, buddy. But thank you. I'm trying not to cover other cover songs just because I don't want to get in trouble. But you know what? I know Doogie's not here. I'd love to talk for a second about a couple more chicken shack things. We were talking at the beginning. Is Logan? Logan, if you're still here, give me a holler. And I'll hit on a couple of the things that we were talking about. I saw you posted about a chicken shack song, and of course Doogie is always asking me about the Lazy Boy Dash, and that's another one of those fun songs. And if I'm going to do those, I should use a slightly different guitar. That's one of the nice things about strap locks is you get to swap guitars real easy. I just leave a wireless belt pack on a strap and just do that real quick. Probably nowhere near in tune at the moment, so spare your ears and kind of tune up for a second. But the Lazy Boy Dash is one of those songs that, much like Face It, kind of came out of nowhere. I had this chord progression that I had been sitting around. I was living in Catonsville, actually not far from where I am right now, here in Glen Oak. And we were off tour for like a week or two in between stuff. And this was probably like the end of 98. And I just had this progression in my head. So Doogie, this is for you real quick. It's got to be kind of cleanish. I had this progression, and anybody who's heard the original version of it knows that it was a lot more of a ska thing. So it was. So, and that became, we did a demo of it at that version, and it was fun, and all that. But the producers of music at the time said, you cannot do ska. You're not allowed to play the ska no more. It's 99. They're over the ska. Meanwhile, I hear ska all the time. Whatever. But I am really glad that we did change it, because then it became one of my favorite songs. We really chilled it out a lot. And so this is a C minor. This is C harmonic minor. This was another one of those things where I kind of had this move where I went with the C minor shape, 3 5 5 6, and then 3 again. I'm sorry, 3 5 5 4 3, and then I went and I did that, and I went, whoa, that's cool. What does that mean? And then I had a scale book at the time, and I looked it up, and I was like, I looked through all these different progressions, and I was like, I didn't see that anywhere in the Western theory section. So I moved to the harmonic minor section. I was like, oh, well, when you harmonize harmonic minor, you get that. You get this whole thing here. And that's just the move. And then so this tritone happens then here at the 5th fret. You got 5 6 5 6. So that, to me, when I heard that chord, I was like, oh my gosh, what do I have here? And I sat there like this forever on my bed. And I was just, and it felt so incomplete to me. And I kind of thought back in my head while I was sitting there jamming on it, the five always within your chord progression, major or minor, the 5 always kind of gives you a spot where you've wandered away far enough from home that the listener's ear is taken to a spot where it says, okay, I'm pretty much ready to take what you're giving me, and you can mess with it some, because I know you're going home next. So I knew at that point I needed to throw the 5 in here somewhere, and I knew I didn't want to just do like a G. That just sounds too. It's too predictable in that sense. So I found the G here, and I did the Hendrix chord. I did the major third. So you got 10, 9, 10. So there's the major third and that dominant 7, and then the minor third. And that really, see, that's what I mean by you've got the major third and the minor third in there at that point, and it's a sharp 9. It's not really a minor third anymore, because we haven't hit that G yet. You know, there's the 1 again, so you have to start spelling stuff over again. We're going to skip the 1, and so we're not going to use the 2. We're going to go to the 9, and then we've raised it. So officially, that minor third in there is on this chord acting as a raised 9. So there's kind of like some rules that are there that are you don't think about, you know, like until you sit there and go, what have I done? And if you really care enough about what you're writing about, you're going to sit there alone on your bed like I was doing at that point and just go, what does this all mean? You know, like it was that or eat ramen, you know, and that night I think I had already had ramen, you know, and that's just how it was back then. So it was inspirational to find something that moved me to the point of not being hungry. Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm not hungry all of a sudden. And I feel like I can show up to Jimmy and go, hey, dude, I got something weird here. So I walked into his house the next day. This little story is long as hell. I don't even know what time it is. Okay, so about 10. I've been going for a bit. I'll go a little bit longer. I want to touch on the Another Day riff, and that's not something I wrote, so I'm going to put it at the very end. Logan, I don't think is here, but he'll be able to catch it later on. Yeah, exactly, Flo. So that whole thing, I took this progression. You know, and I just loved it. I mean, I had it in my head. I mean, it was like I couldn't escape this thing. And I brought it to Jimmy. I got there at the same house that we wrote Face It in. I can't remember if it was before or after Face It. I feel like it was before Face It came along, but like by a day, you know. So I bring that to him and I'm playing it and I'm thinking to myself, there's no way he's going to just write something right here. And sometimes it's really tough to take an idea, get it to people, and have a bunch of people latch onto it, let alone, you know, 1 or 2 of them. So he heard that progression and he was like, oh, stop, hold on. And he ran upstairs in this 3-story house he had and literally came running back down. He's like, play. And I'm going, and he's looking at me. He's like, yeah, you better get up. He goes, Dave, you just wrote the music to the Lazy Boy Dash. He's like, I wrote these words like 10 years ago, and they fit perfectly with these lyrics. So I was like, you know, like, yes, this was like the first time that I had written a progression that I thought was just ear bending to a certain degree, but then also had something that he could already write and sing over it. And so the bass line, you know, we kind of came from the chord structure, and then Che took his thing, and I mean, he walked it like, you know, he just did such a good job with that. And it came to him like almost immediately too. The only thing that I remember sitting there with him was saying, on this chord, you really bring that flat and fifth out. And when he did that move, his ear was like, oh, you know, and it was this one of those moments where, wow, we're writing together as a band, we're taking ideas, we're all kind of adding to it. And that's how Face It happened. That's how a couple of the other songs really came about. It was real organic at that point. Sybil and I were living together in one place, and Jimmy was not too far away. So the last thing I want to end on is just to get out of this whole kind of a minor thing, out of the major thing, and do this riff for another day. I saw Logan was running through it, and this is an old one. This is a McD riff, and McD wrote in Phrygian. If you sit and listen to McD's riffs, he tended to write in Phrygian, and he didn't know it, just like we didn't know Lydian dominant was what Face It was, and I eventually learned that this thing that I was working on was what it was. It's all there already. This is why people say music is it's already been done. So if you can sit there and take the rules and break the rules your own way and get something original out of it, then you're already onto something. Instead of just playing by the rules, instead of always going pentatonic and instead of always doing 3 notes per string, find these places that work together. Find a weird chord progression, figure out what it means, and then try your best to remember. Wake up the next morning and remember it, and hopefully somebody around you will be able to do something with it, or yourself. But Jim McD tended to write in this Phrygian mode, and so for him, his keynote, I think something I heard Logan missing when he was playing was this in the key of B. Another day is this 7 to 8. That's always what's particularly the problem, Ryan. I'm sorry. I just saw that pop in. The whole having somebody. I'm guessing you're going to say having remembering the riff. Yeah, exactly. Remembering your riff, dude. The phone. Oh, you want to see a cool trick I learned today? Watch this. Get a capo. Okay, capo. Phone. Okay. If you are sitting here struggling with the best way to put it so that you can see your fingers, dude, look at this. Look at that. I mean, that's perfect. I learned that I was this many years old when I learned that. Right? Boom. Dude. So that I already have been struggling with this, and the things end up on my lap, and I'm holding my guitar like this to try to get the look is where my fingers are on the frets, Dave. You dummy, you're gonna forget it in the morning. That I saw on YouTube, and I was like, that is the coolest thing. Right, exactly. What the heck, like just such a good hack. Paul David, some of my favorite YouTubers, Paul David's. I love Pete Thorne. He's great. He's got the best playing style and such a nice demeanor. If you want to learn about gear you want to buy, watch Pete Thorne. If you want to learn about the gear you already have, watch Philip McKnight. If you want to learn about theory, like on the serious level, watch Rick Beato and Catch Signals Music Studio. Rick Beato is great. You can't define him at this point, but you can learn something from every one of his videos. But those are some of my favorite guys that are out there right now. Robert Baker is another great player. And then, of course, there's all sorts of musicians that are on YouTube doing all that stuff. But those are some of the best instructors and guys that are doing really good educational videos. So I'll end this real quick on something in Lydian. And that the Another Day riff and Doogie, this is probably already something that you're gonna like too. So the whole idea of what McD really liked to do was he had kind of had that riff, and this was another one of those things that like he had going, and then Jimmy and them worked together, and they said, well, I'm gonna sing this, and you're gonna play this, and we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna play that, and Jimmy's little part is up on the 11th and 12th fret. 9th, 12th, 9th. So that's that scale. That's his little position where he heard what he heard as a melody up higher for this McD riff, which is 7, 8, 7. And then a 9th fret on the A string and 10th fret on the E string, and it's like this, and and that's a stylistic thing that McD did. He raked a lot, and he was almost like a like a Stevie Ray Vaughan player in that sense, but he didn't sound like Stevie Ray. But and he didn't play blues, but he played a blues based kind of a thing. And so these kind of lopey kind of a feel thing was what he would do. You know, and then so that thing would be 7, 8, 7, 9, 10. And then he would go the 7 to 9 again. And then on the D string, a little trill there. And then 9 to 7 between the A and the D strings, and then back to the A. So 9, 7, 9. And then a G on the 10th fret of the A string with that major third. So there's a G major happening within this thing, and that's that, and that's home. B Phrygian is the third degree of G major. So he's playing not in Aeolian or Dorian, those typical minor modes. He's doing the Phrygian thing, which I always really dug. It was really a cool part of the sound, and I love the way that Jimmy could take and write lyrics over that. I never was successful at coming up with something Phrygian that stuck with him. The closest we got to it was the Face It thing, and that's a totally different thing, and it's just a whole different world, you know. It's apples and oranges, the first album and the second album, you know, and it comes down to playing styles and writing styles and what we were all thinking and doing at the time. So, but this is still a song that I love playing with this band today. To this day, we get just to jam on it. It breaks away, but it's just got this really great feel to it that goes. And then so that second time, instead of going up to a G, you play kind of an F sharp minor there. But really, it's, to me, I think of it as the B dominant. And the hand is always. So, you know, your hand is really judging it. There'll be times where I'll be amped up, you know, and I really want to play this, and I'll start it, and I'll look at Jimmy, and he'll go, "Hoo," and then, you know, like not that bad, but I'll have to slow it down, you know, and that song kind of has to have that kind of a little bit of a looser feel. And then in the verse, there's this really cool thing that they did. The first time through, they would go, you know, I'm sorry. So the first time through, he would slide from the A, from the 2 of G major to the 3 of G major. So that's really the whole groove of the song for the choruses and the intros and stuff. The next part of the song really is G, F sharp, and E. Feel like I've had enough of what you. And I won't play the one that you put down. For myself I like to throw in that 9 anywhere I can, and sometimes it stands out when there's not a whole bunch of other distortion going on. But I love those chords. Anytime I can get away with the pretty chord, I do it. That's what I do. I love this G note, but a D chord. Love that, you know. I just think that kind of stuff can really just bend your ear, you know, in some weird way. And it always ends up sounding Lydian to me in some way. I always end up finding it in there somewhere. So anyway, what is it? 10:15. I've been going and going and going. Great stuff, Dave. Thank you guys. You're going to Nashville. Right on. Enjoy your trip, B. Enjoy it. Hey, everybody, thank you. There's still a bunch of you here hanging out. I really had fun today. I've been excited to do this video for a bit now. I started thinking about kind of reanalyzing one of my old songs, especially now that I've added, you know, this circuit is amazing, and I've got it linked into this via MIDI, so the looper and the circuit and the switcher, they're all talking to each other. If I tap tempo somewhere, so it's just great. I mean, it's instantly like woo, you know, so much fun and instant satisfaction. Jeff, thanks for tuning in, buddy. I'm really I'm glad you guys did. I'm glad you got to hang out. I'd love to do. I'll spend a little time and I'll do a real video one day. I just finally got a bunch of this stuff in. We just got access to our location here. Bridge has been messed up. I dropped my pick, so that means it's time to go. Seriously, guys, everybody, thank you so much for being here tonight. I know it's a little late. Thank you guys. Yep, I'll see everybody that's here that I work with. I'll see you tomorrow. Everybody that's everybody, Everett, everybody that's tuned in from all across the area. Jeff, Paul, the Pauls, both you guys. Thank you all very much for hanging out. Peace, my friends.